Hey, what's up, my dudes? It's me, your boy. It's about back again with them videos. Alright, so we've been kind of on a downward spiral with these videos I've been making, and I actually turns out I actually kind of enjoy making these videos. It's kind of therapeutic for me, so I don't know if you guys like the messages or not. I hope you guys do. I hope you guys are enjoying my content. But I was like, you know what? Let's just continue on with what I'm doing because it's all I kind of know how to do semi-decently. So one of the things I really wanted to discuss with y'all was self-love, which sounds weird. Now I know my first video was about me hating love. My second video was about me feeling like sad when people will leave, and now we're talking about self-love. You're like, Sam, where are you going with all these videos? It's gonna make a full circle, or maybe an octagon. I don't know my shapes. I didn't go to college. I'm in the army, guys. Okay, cut me some slack. But I want to talk about self-love. I want to talk about why it's important, and I'll explain why. That's kind of why you're watching this video. So self-love. I'm still trying to figure out what self-love is for myself. I'm still trying to figure out how to stop, the not so great thoughts from occurring, or self-doubt, things like that. And I'll touch on that subject. The first person I want to thank for this video, who inspired me to make this video, was my best friend, White. And for those of you who don't know, look up her Instagram. I'll put it down in the description below. You need to follow her. She's an amazing human being. I love her so much. She really helps me she really tries to help me kind of like just appreciate myself, because she told me one time, she was like, hey, she's like, you're always trying to help everybody else. She's like, you always have good things to say about everybody. She's like, but you never really say anything good about yourself. And that kind of got me thinking. I was like, you're not wrong. you're not wrong at all. So I've been trying to, take care of myself. I stopped biting my nails, because that's we'll explain why I started biting my nails a while ago. I'll explain why. But yeah. So self-love, why it's difficult for a lot of people. It's not just me, but I'm the one making the video, so it's gonna have to be about me. But self-love is one of those things that it's easy to talk about, but it's hard to practice. I struggle with self-love for a number of reasons. One of them being that I always felt off. I never really felt like I had my shit together the way I was supposed to. And I don't really know when it started happening, but it's kind of like this little, I don't even know how to describe it. The way I picture it is that there's like a little mean version of me like on my shoulder, kind of like the devil and the angel, but the angel's kind of been on a day off for a while. So it's just the devil. And the devil tries to say shit like, hey, like, every time I try to make a decision, they'll be like, are you sure? Like, are you not gonna affect everyone around you? Are you like being selfish? Like that's one of the things I struggle with a lot, is just the whole moral concept of, am I being selfish, or am I doing what I need to do for myself? And the problem with that is there's a lot of problems. But the problem with that is that I'm a very empathetic person. I feel empathy for a lot of people, for everybody. And when you do that, like, yeah, it's great to have empathy. Like, everyone should have empathy, but to a certain degree. And that's where I start messing up, because then I start putting people in front of me, and I start forgetting about my own needs, my own wants, and I start putting what everybody else wants on top of my wants. And then I help everyone achieve their goals, but then in the end of the day, it's like, all right, well, who's gonna help me achieve my goals? Who's gonna, help me climb this mountain of struggles and bad thoughts and shitty moods? And at the end of the day, it's like, all you really have is you. So that's kind of why I really want to promote this video about self-love, because I feel like a lot of people, especially people who are empathetic, or people who are like me, who are constantly wanting to help other people and wanting to make the world a better place, which is nothing wrong. But I read this quote, which probably a lot of you have heard. There's a professor who one time told a class, like, hey, I'm really glad you guys who come to college, you guys have a little bit of, I want to save the world, or I want to save everyone around me, and that's a good thing. But don't forget that while you're doing the whole I want to save the world and I want to save everyone, you need to remember that, hey, at some point you need to save yourself too, because you can't save everyone if you can't even save yourself. So my issue started when I was younger. I always wanted to help everybody. And I always felt like, hey, if I make you happy, maybe I'll be happy. Like the whole selfless service, service of others will bring you joy. Like, that's like a church thing, right? If I had a White here, my best friend White, she would like be telling you like, yes, that's from the Bible. But I don't really know a whole lot of religion. I love, I'm Christian, but I never read the Bible all the way. I read like 3 stories. Anyway, that's not about that today. But yeah, so I was that person who like, I really enjoyed bringing joy to other people. I love helping people. I don't really care for shit in return. I've never been like that. I just always ask like, hey, like, I hope you're grateful, or I hope you're excited, or I hope this brings you, some level of happiness. And that's kind of all I ever needed. The problem with that mentality though is that you soon become a people pleaser. And a people pleaser is somebody who starts putting everyone else's wants and needs in front of their own. So what started happening was that I stopped basically advocating for myself. I stopped caring, and I stopped caring about what I needed over what I wanted. And what I needed for the longest time was people to understand where I was coming from. What I needed was for somebody to listen. What I needed was just for someone to tell me that everything was gonna be okay. It was reassurance, really. I just needed someone to give me reassurance about basically everything. But, when you're a people pleaser, you forget that you also need to be consoled at some times. You need someone to be there for you. But when you're a people pleaser, you'd think, I can't do that. I can't show that weakness of I need someone there for me because I'm that person who's gonna be there for everyone else. And that's kind of when you start, ruining yourself. You start kind of falling into this downward spiral of, I can't be the broken one because I'm supposed to be here to help everyone else who's broken. So, yeah, it sucked for the longest time. You kind of get trapped in your own head. And then every time you feel like you're on the verge of breaking, or you're on the verge of, you feel shaky, you feel like you're like, okay, I can't contain, what's in my head or what I'm thinking or how I'm feeling. But then you're like, I can't, show that to anybody because I'm supposed to be the strong one. I'm supposed to be the one that's taking care of everybody. And, you're supposed to be the one who understands everybody. You're supposed to be the one who's supposed to be able to make everyone else feel better about themselves. And it's like, that's wonderful, but how are you supposed to make everyone feel better about themselves if you can't make yourself feel better about yourself? And that's when the self-hatred starts, because now you're helping all these people, you're seeing all these people growing and doing their own thing and becoming a wonderful person because you're helping them, which is great. But then you start thinking, well, why can't I do it for myself? And it's so weird. It's such a weird, vicious cycle of, I want to help everybody and I want everyone to become their best selves. But you can't even help yourself to become your own best self. But at the same time, you're putting on this persona of your best self. Do you see what I mean? Like, it's this big little weird paradox that wrapped in a box, in a pretty bow box, that makes 0 sense. You're basically helping people become the best version of themselves while you're hating yourself, but you're putting on a persona that you are your best self so they believe that you're strong so that they feel strong. And at the end of the day, that's great. You're helping people, but at the end of the day, it's like, you're gonna be the most damaged. You're taking on their struggles, their needs, their, misery basically. Misery loves company. And the problem with being empathetic is that you take all their misery and you put it on your dish. And when you're someone who's overly empathetic like me, for the longest time, I kept taking everyone's misery and everyone's problems. I kept piling it up and I wouldn't eat it. I would eat the damn plate. But I kept piling it up to the point where now everyone's misery on top of my own misery, because everyone has misery. Whether how small, how insignificant, how major, everyone has some level of misery. And I just kept piling it up. And it came to the point where at some point I was on the verge of breaking. I was like, I want to tell somebody how I feel. I want to talk about how I feel. I want somebody to try to relate, or someone just to hold me and say it's gonna be okay. It's okay to not be okay all the time. That was one of the things I really needed growing up, was that reassurance that, hey, it's okay to not be strong all the time. It's okay to not be the happy kid all the time. It's okay to want someone else to be empathetic towards you, and that you don't have to always be helping everybody, that sometimes it's okay to just focus on you. But like I said, for the longest time, I would think about it, but I would kind of push away from the subject because I was, like I said, I was always like, no, I need to be the strong one. I need to be the one who is there for everyone else. And then what happened is that once I help fix that person, or once I help that person grow, or once I help that person get out whatever funk they were in, once that person gets rid of their misery, they're gonna run as far away from that misery as they can. Because, I mean, that's not even them being mean or them being ungrateful. It's just common human sense. You're not gonna want to be surrounded by what made you miserable. So it's like, it just makes sense that you're gonna want to get away from it. So after I would help that person, or after I would help these people with their issues, they would just leave. They would just, leave. And then it felt like a little bit of like, wow, well, I have all these issues now that I want to talk about, but you're not here anymore. And it would suck. But no, it's just one of those things that would happen constantly. And that's the problem with being overly empathetic, is that you forget that at some point you need to kind of step back from everything that's happening and say, hey, I need a breather, both mentally, physically, and spiritually, or whatever you want to call it. Just you need a moment to just think about yourself. And the other issue with becoming overly empathetic is that you don't know how to differentiate between self-care and selfishness. Because I remember always having that like moral dilemma of, am I being selfish or am I taking care of my mental health? And I wasn't sure where the line really was, because it's so paper thin for me apparently. Because then people would be like, oh my god, like, and that was the other thing, is that I surrounded myself with a lot of shitty people who, and that's the other problem. So it's a weird circle of, I didn't know how to differentiate between selfishness and self-love. I didn't know how to find good people, because as someone who's empathetic, you want to find good in everybody. So that means you're going to surround yourself with good people, but a lot of times you're going to surround yourself with shitty people too, which leads to the next issue, which when you surround yourself with shitty people are the best at manipulating empathetic people. Because empathetic people, like I said before, we don't want to believe that there's bad things in the world. We don't want to believe that there's bad people. And the people who are unfortunately not the greatest human beings in the world, they look at us like easy prey, like, oh, I can just get what I want out of you. And sometimes they want people, sometimes they want the same things we want, which is we want reassurance. We want people to say, hey, I understand you. I want you to talk to me like that. They're still human. People who aren't the greatest people in the world, they're still human. The only problem is that they'll use you, abuse you, get what they need, get the reassurance, and then they're out. And they leave you more damaged than you were before. So you can imagine growing up, that happened constantly. People would come, give me their issues, I'd fix them, and then they say, all right, I'm out, finger guns, and they're gone. And it sucked. It sucked a lot of the time. And it made me build up this it made me build up this persona where, after it happened so many times, after I was so empathetic for so long and I kept helping people, it made me scared to be wanting to help people. It made me scared to be empathetic for a little bit. Because then I felt like, am I empathetic or am I just naive? Am I gonna be your friend and am I actually gonna help you in hopes that you won't just leave me the moment you're fixed? Or am I being paranoid? It's just this really crazy but thin transition that you have to kind of figure out for yourself. And the other thing was the whole selfishness part, is that there's a lot of things that I wanted. There's a lot of things that I needed to do for myself that other people might not have agreed with, that people, would have laughed at me for. And the sad thing is that the one thing I regret is that all the things I feel like I should have done for myself, mentally, physically, everything, I didn't do because I was scared. I was scared of the judgment. I was scared of a lot of things that would happen, of the repercussions, because everything has a repercussion, both good and bad. But being the empathetic person, I always felt like, no, I can't do that. Like, every action I made for myself, I would have to think through, because I was like, okay, well, how is this going to affect so-and-so? How's that going to affect you? And how's that going to affect you? And am I secretly ruining your life? Which now leads me to my next subject. When you're empathetic and you do things for yourself and it affects people around you, it kind of starts ruining you, because now you feel like, you start kind of believing in this butterfly effect that you do. You start thinking like, if I do this, is this going to hurt so-and-so? And in doing that, is that going to hurt the next person in the chain? So now you kind of become paranoid, you become scared to do anything yourself. You don't want to be your own person anymore. You rather just be told what to do, because you're like, hey, if I'm told to do something, it's not my fault. which is not a great way to think at all. It's not. But it, you know, when you're empathetic and when you care about what other people think, you stop to think about other people's wants and needs, and then you get scared to make any decisions for yourself because now you're worried about how your decision is going to affect the entire world, which is crazy because your decisions are your decisions. In the end of the day, the only one who has to live with it is honestly you. But you get trapped in this mindset of, hey, whatever I do is going to affect the world around me. So you get scared. So you start taking tiny steps in everywhere you go. You try to make less and less of an impact because you're scared of the repercussions, scared of the waves that you'll cause. And in doing so, you start listening to other people. Because when you listen to other people, you don't have to worry about the consequences that come with it. And it sucks. AKA, that is my roommate. Like I told you guys, I have roommates. But yeah, so you get scared about these repercussions happening, and you start following. Then you kind of fall into the habit of listening to other people and doing as they say because you feel like it's safer to just listen to what they say. Because that way, when something does happen or there is a repercussion, you can be like, "It wasn't me. I just did as I was told." But that's not healthy either. Because then you stop becoming your own person. You stop making your own decisions based not on what other people want, but based on what you want and based off what you need. And that was my biggest problem. I stopped caring about what I wanted. I stopped caring about what I needed. I just was like, I just want to adapt. Just tell me what to do. I'll be the nicest guy here. And a nice guy isn't always a good guy. I hope you guys understand this lesson. A nice guy is not always a good guy. Because there's a lot of people who seem nice. You have a lot of serial killers that are very charming. They might seem like a nice guy, but are they good? No. What makes a good person is when they can do the perfect balance of empathy, but also self-love, understanding, following their own mind, basically. So this is something that I struggle with a lot. And I might still be struggling with it. I don't want to say like it's bad because before it was much worse. Before I would struggle with it because I would, make friends with people easily. The problem is that I wouldn't make friends with the good people. So the bad people took advantage, and they took advantage a lot. And then they would use me up, and I would become fatigued. I would overexert myself. I would stretch myself thin for all these people who I thought were good people. And at the end of the day, it just turns out they had their own agendas. Do I still think they're good people? I want to believe that they're still good in them. All the people who I met who sadly have had a falling out with, I still want to believe that there's good in them. I still want to believe that there's, some former self that I first saw in them is still there. So if you're watching this video and you always feel like you don't know whether to be a good person, be an empathetic person, or if you're just being naive, or if you feel like you're being paranoid, I just want you to know this. In the end of the day, for real, in the end of the day, the only person that you should really care about is yourself. I don't mean that in a selfish sounding way. I mean that you should care about how everything's going to affect you mentally, physically, psychologically. If it feels like you're going to do something for a person that's going to put you in a bad state of mind, that you know is going to have repercussions in a bad way affecting you, just don't do it. You need to start working out for yourself. And this is for my empathetic people. You need to start thinking about what you need, about what you want. Because you can't help everybody. You can't save everybody. But if you can save at least one person, if you can, save yourself first. You can't apply the face mask or gas mask, whatever the hell you want to call it, the breathing mask. You can't apply that on an airplane when it's going down to the person next to you, because then you'll pass out before you can give it to them. And then they'll pass out, and then you all die in a kill. Like, you see what I'm saying? So my message to you is, take care of yourself first. Love yourself first. Stop being scared about... Don't be like me, where I got scared about making waves in the ocean, or taking steps and being worried that I'm going to crush somebody else's toes. Because in the real world, nobody cares. In the real world, people are going to look at us and say, hey, you're easy to manipulate. I'm going to use you until you're all spent, and then move on to the next fool. So keep being empathetic. Keep being that good person. Keep being that person who cares about other people, because we need more of that. But just remember, be smart. Don't extend yourself. If you feel like you're being drawn out thin, maybe take a step back and say, hey, that person I'm helping, that person I'm caring for, what are their intentions? And look into that. Because your sanity and your mental health is not worth going crazy over somebody who doesn't really care. I love you guys. You guys know this. I hope you guys have a really wonderful day. But my message to you, like I said before, self-love, care about yourself, don't stress yourself thin mentally. And if you are that person who cares a lot about other people, I'm happy for you. You're very rare. Nowadays, you're very rare. But remember, you need to worry about yourself sometimes, okay? So take a day off. All right, guys, I love you. Is your boy Taboda signing up, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.